Welcome, low ego action heroes. I'm Debbie Levitt from Delta CX, and welcome to what we like to do roughly every Tuesday, and that is live Q&A AMA. We're here to take your questions live. So we've got no questions queued up. Nobody sent them in ahead of time, as they sometimes do. So if you have a question, you'll be first on the list. You can ask it live in the chat, or you can send it to deltacx.com/links. There's a form you can fill out there. It can be anonymous. Hello, Ana Lucia. Isn't Ana Lucia like the greatest person on the planet? I can't say enough good things about her for so many reasons. But let's also say some nice things while we wait for your questions to come in about our Patreon members. I started the Patreon because I was so tired of algorithms being between you and me. LinkedIn, YouTube, Medium, it's all algorithms. And I want to make sure that if you're interested in Delta CX videos and content and the CXCC stuff, that you get it, and you get it early. So please join our Patreon at patreon.com/CXCC. We also have a free tier, so it can cost you nothing. This isn't even the cash grab it should be. All right, with that being said, I'm going to bring in everybody's second favorite person on this channel, because I'll pretend your first favorite is me, though it might not be. And that would be Dr. Nick. Tell us about you.
You guys know me. I'm the annoying loud guy on LinkedIn who will not shut up about user-centric design. And I don't know, I've got to be in my bonnet about product these days, and it just keeps getting noisier and noisier. So yeah, that's me.
Welcome, welcome. So everybody go follow Dr. Nick on LinkedIn. So like, as usual, this is how live we are. We are waiting for your questions. And Nick and I are here to answer any question you might have that we are qualified to answer. We've gotten some weird ones in the past, but sure, if we're qualified to answer it, we'll answer it. I don't see any coming in right now. So again, oh, no, what is... I'm getting spam, so there's that. So yeah, please send in your questions. You can put them live in the chat, though I will say your name, so don't poop on your job. If you want to poop on your job, definitely go to the links page and do that. Nick, while we wait for some questions, I want to ask you, are you still working on that AI presentation you were going to be giving?
Oh, yes. Can't talk about it.
Oh, you can't talk about it.
What I can tell you about is I was working on 2 AI projects, and one of them about 3 months ago, we woke up, had breakfast, did a meeting, then stand up. Stand up was, hey, have you guys seen the news yet? No. Amazon have released Amazon Q. And the long story short was Amazon Q completely did exactly what we had just spent the past 7 or 8 months doing. And they did it in a fraction of the time, and killed one of my AI projects stone dead, which that was a shame, but that's the danger of swimming in AI waters, I suppose. It's so, yeah, no, don't cry for anyone doing anything with AI right now. No tears whatsoever. It's too crazy. It's just, I've never in my professional life in any form of IT technology, digital, anything, have seen anything like this ever before. It's not just next level, it's next level weird. You do you know what I'm saying? Yeah, I can't understand why people are getting so excited, although I can at the same time. It's a very, I don't know what, yin yang, or it's really hard. I'm challenged internally. Let me find, I've got a prop I can show you. Okay. Here's an example. Can you see this? Okay, this is a type of a
It's like a screwy
thing,
bit.
Right? Now,
yeah.
Long story short was I have one of these, but I needed another one in a different size. And I have no idea what you call this thing. And I'm not like the guy that does know all of that stuff. So I thought, I'll ask the AI. What else can I do? I mean, how else would you find out what this thing is called? It's a really specialist name too. So I took photographs of it on my phone.
It's like a hex. Is that a hex key? Is that a hex?
No, it's actually called a rivnut.
Oh, okay.
Or a nutsert, which is a nut insert. Yeah, don't worry, that's completely normal, not adult language. Yeah, I know. Trust it. It's on Amazon, so I'm assuming therefore it's okay. What you do is you drill a hole and put one of these things in, and then it gives you a mounting point. And I needed a 1/4 inch hole for a tripod mount. You don't really care about that bit. So I took pictures of it. Initially, it said it's a rivet nut, which is close because this thing is a form of a rivet nut. It's a threaded rivet nut, which I learned all this through it. But basically, by taking pictures at different angles to expose it, to show the internal threading and the shape at this end and all of this, it got it down. And I was blown away at how incredible that was. Absolutely incredible. It took a bit of to and fro, and I can share the chat with anybody and all of that stuff. Wasn't rocket science. I'm not a prompt engineer or any genius like that. It was just help me out. Here's a picture, nudging it along to try to find it and give it more information, more data to help it make a better decision, or
And
compare what it
normally I
knows.
probably would have used like Google image search or something like that. Which AI
Yeah,
system
which
did you use for that?
GPT, but I use GPT Plus, the paid one, so it's like 4. Yeah, sorry, phone needs to go on silence. Apologies, that's 15-year-old daughter coming home.
Hi, Mrs. Dr. Nick.
Yeah, she's over there. Yeah, there's no other way of doing that generally. You'd have to find a guy or a person who knew a thing about making stuff to say,
You have to
yeah,
go
that's
down
a
to the
ribbon.
hardware store and go, I need
Yeah,
this.
exactly. Yeah, all sheepish, like, please. So in that regard, AI is astonishing and mind-blowing and wow. But then I can show you arguments and fights I've had with Claude and GPT this week where it's just, I don't want to swear, it's just bloody lying.
So much for
Right?
the
It's
not
guessing,
swearing.
and I explicitly prompted, stop filling in the blanks. If you don't know, tell me. Follow the transcript or follow the source. Double check it. It lies about double checking. It lies about validation. I've had to check things so many times in such detail. It's pointless. I'm really angry. I'm sorry. I know you can hear me losing it a bit, but I'm
No,
spending
no,
so much time on this, and
I'm with
I'm
you.
going backwards again.
Yeah, I
You
just
know?
had a small Slack battle over this yesterday when someone posted that ridiculous NNG infographic with the here's how you can have AI write your research plan for you. And my thought
Oh
was
God.
that's
Yeah.
that's not a good idea. And if you're doing that, I'm not going to hire you. So we have to be really
Well, no, no,
careful
no,
what
no,
we
no.
use these things for.
No, you know what? So yes and no. If you know what you're doing, like you or I, getting it to do all the legwork, which of the stuff that you would have put forward anyway, a basic structure, you know what I mean, that is familiar to you, or you had trained it, or it was in the same chat. There's definitely value in just the acceleratory from 0 to something bit.
It doesn't
In my
accelerate for me.
okay, I can see in the future it setting things up for me, or just going directly to Confluence, or do you know what I mean, into Dovetail, or just stuff, or even
In the
way more
future,
better and interesting
you
places.
and I are imagining a future in which this is done well and we don't have to worry about it and babysit it and all that, but we're
No,
not there
but,
yet.
but when of course we're not. We're 100% miles from it. But people like me and other people are having to build the tools for it now, which is nuts. It's an arms race. It's a commercial arms race. I'll tell you something. Here's something I'll give you guys. This is a nice exclusive on the Debbie Levitt show. I totally varied my persona this sprint in a way that I've never varied it before. And it
Okay.
came down to active and latent needs. So user needs are user needs. They're the center of my world, and they should be yours. And they are for probably most of your listeners, watchers. But user needs aren't just user needs. There are very many. It's a matrix. There's different levels to it, up and down, from macro needs to micro needs. But also active needs and latent needs, i.e., needs that aren't active yet, but you have these needs, you just don't know about them yet. So that was a really interesting and really valuable way of looking at the world. but it
And
also
just a
complicates things
reminder
in
that
ways
Nick
that
and
makes
I
it
are
really complicated.
hanging out and chatting, but we are waiting for your questions because this is our live international mentoring session. You get free help and advice
Yeah.
from us on any question you have or anything you want to disagree with us about. You get to put that in. So put it in the chat, like Ana Lucia's comments are coming up, or send it over to deltacx.com/links. There's a place for you to send in something anonymously, which will come into my email, and I'm not seeing it yet, so please send it in. Ana Lucia said, I had a fight with ChatGPT yesterday. I was asking it to rewrite parts of my resume using the Harvard list of verbs, and it rewrote in such a bad way I had to keep prompting and redirecting it.
Yeah, no. When GPT writes, even when you train it, it sounds like GPT, and I can smell it. I can detect it. I'm sure you guys can. It's got
I'm
a
seeing that a lot on
cheesy,
LinkedIn. I saw a
corporate-y.
post yesterday that said I can tell 50% of the cover letters I'm getting on job applications were written by ChatGPT and nobody even bothered trying to make it sound like themselves.
Absolutely, and actually, the eBay descriptions, the Etsy shit, all of that stuff. It's just so bland, and it's like, ugh. It's like visual garbage. I don't know
Content
what you know.
without
It's noise. It
strategy.
is. Yeah. Anna Lucia, good point. But I love what you're saying. But I've had in my mind to rewrite Maslow's hierarchy of needs in my world because there is a hierarchy of needs. And I'm not disputing Maslow's work, but I have my own hierarchy of needs, if you know what I mean, that implies to our world, like the UX hierarchy of needs. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, maybe I should. But yes,
I like that. That could be one of the
Maslow's
many
brilliant.
triangles we put up during the show. I mean, I've got a where are they now? I've got a whole collection of triangles.
You're late with the
And
buttons.
yeah, here we go. So let's see. We've
Go,
got
go, go.
the strategy, science, and technique and building blocks. We have the um, find yourself on the pyramid of disagreement. We've got balancing customer needs, cutting risk and waste, and velocity and speed. We've got a whole collection of triangles over here, and then of course we have nice rounded triangles. So send it over, Nick, your
Yep.
triangle on this screen for free.
Yes. Okay. Well, it's more of a, like I said, it's more of a pyramid. It's more three-dimensional.
Oh, that's what I meant. Sorry.
Yeah. And
Good night.
actually, if it's, yeah, but yeah, I'll come up with some do hecka, you know,
Dodecahedron.
polygonal, yeah, polygonal shape for you. I can't even talk this
Make sure
evening.
you
It's
say
great.
polygonous and not polygamous.
Oh God, yeah, absolutely. Okay, can I tell you something even worse?
What?
I can say this, and there's nothing bad about what I'm going to say, even though it's going to sound bad.
Oh
So
God,
there
we're
you
gonna get
go.
canceled.
No, we're not going to get cancelled. I ordered some material, okay, so a synthetically created material called Poron, Poron. It's an
Spell check.
incredible material with incredible properties, but it's got a name that brings up all kinds of other things in search results. It's a nightmare.
Oh, that's too good. It reminds me of a joke my previous boyfriend had. He had some space heater, and I'm gonna type the brand name on the screen. This was the brand name of the of his space heater.
Yeah, just say it sober and be careful how you say it.
Yeah, and that led him to
Or
imagine
don't
a
fold it.
bunch of brand names that were body parts with just an L and an O added in the middle.
I can think of a great one. I can't even say it because we're going to get in trouble, but but you know the one that I'm thinking of as well. Oh dear.
Yeah, he had some good jokes about that one. So, yeah, brand names, they used to be important, but now if you think about the things we buy on Amazon, they're all of these made up nonsense
Oh yeah.
words from these,
Would yes.
international companies and factories, and they Ryan George did a great sketch about it. They make no sense.
Yeah. No. I think they deliberately don't make sense either for standout ability or just unique characters that aren't scramble. You know what I'm saying? Because they use more as tracking keywords for systems rather than any human comprehension, generally speaking. But a human has to differentiate them. So having as just word salad is not any good. You know what I'm saying? It's more, well, it's word salad instead of letter salad.
I remember it has to be like 24 years ago or something like that. I was speaking at a conference and I was talking about the importance of a better brand name than a lot of
Mm-hmm.
companies had at the time of like the dot-com bubble. And there was a company at the time that was called Pandzic, and I don't remember what they did, but I remember saying to the audience, ask your doctor if Pandzic is right for you. Which is, a stereotypical disclaimer line from an American pharmaceutical commercial. Like, you eventually get to these words that are so, as we say, empty vessel that you don't even know what kind of business they're in. Like, is Pandzic a metal band? Is it a
Yeah,
pharmaceutical? Is it a tech
yeah,
company?
yeah. Or is it like a global outbreak?
Yeah, that's true. We've just had that.
We just came out of the Pandzic. What?
Yeah. And I think they ended up going out of business a few years later, and I was like, I don't think I caused that. But that was, I don't think I had anything to do with that, but that wasn't a very good brand name. Please, this is funny. This is the longest we've ever gone without a question. So does anybody have a question? Otherwise, it's like me at your, is anyone just eating popcorn like it's me and Nick
It's
catching
like the
up?
Nick and Deb stand-up show.
Yeah,
Most
totally. I mean,
definitely.
people probably could use a little comedy in their lives right now. But we are supposed to be answering your questions. So if you have questions, we are broadcasting live to take your questions on CX, UX, research, design, wireframing, prototyping, research methods, good rigor in UX work, good
Critical
UX
thinking.
in product strategy, bad fake
Politicians,
UX.
liars, empire builders, bad product managers.
Yes, the good
Uh,
and bad. I have a great product manager at my job right now. I just want to say that because, yes, I'm
yeah,
often
fair
pooping
play.
on product managers, but I'm extremely lucky to have a really fantastic one. Her name is Danny, and she is just fantastic, and she's fantastic for multiple reasons, and she didn't pay me to say this. First of all, she's a technical product manager. So she's spending most of her time coordinating and unblocking the engineering team.
Yep.
And so to her, my work is in support of that. My work is making sure that as a researcher that I'm bringing the best information to the cross-functional team, to the larger group of stakeholders to inform the designs, to help the engineers not waste time. She gets it, and she is such a fantastic supporter of our work, and I think that's what product management could be. Okay, not every product manager wants to spend most of their time in Jira coordinating tickets with engineers, but I'm so happy I have her, and I compare her to some of the product managers I've had in the past who have treated me like I was their assistant, or I was their
Yep.
flunky,
Minion.
or I was their uh, insert design tool here jockey, or I was their teacher, or I just had to do whatever they said, or and if I had a thought on my own, I was a bad dog. And so I really appreciate that.
Yep.
And I wish, I've seen some product managers on LinkedIn act like, gee, I don't understand why there's all this bad blood between PMs and UX. And then their next 27 posts are PMs should wireframe, PMs should research, your
Yeah.
UXer will help you, and then I'm just like, oh, wow. Oh, lack
Wow.
of
Are you
self
that
awareness.
oblivious?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. It is so true. It's like, what the heck do you think? My title is user researcher. You're doing my job in front of me. What do you think I'm going to do? It's
Yeah.
mental that they're so like blasé about it.
Yeah. And I also find it interesting that some of them will say, oh, we don't want any one role owning UX or design or research, but then the PMs go and own UX or design or research. And it's like, wait, I thought we didn't want one role
I'm
owning that.
afraid.
Oh, you just wanted to gaslight us into giving up some of our power so that you could
Yeah,
then take it over. Okay, I get it.
yeah,
It's
and then
the
do a shit
Middle
job with it.
Ages again.
Yeah, and then do a shit job with it. Yeah, that's
Uh,
happened quite a lot on my travels. People want the thing because they can't have it, and then they get the thing and do nothing with it.
oh.
Or in UX UI's case, break it.
Let's press fade. There, groovy. Um, Yeah, so, oh, we're getting a couple of comments in the chat room. Everyone's talking about the eclipse. I had nothing to do with the eclipse. I was not on the path for the eclipse, but I did get a request from one of my best friends to please send her my karaoke video of Total Eclipse of the Heart due to all of the bad eclipse puns that were going around.
Pink Floyd. There is only one eclipse.
I am not a fan. We've established that. You're gonna have to
Oh,
bridge that for me.
accept it. Just accept it.
Okay,
It is the way.
fine. Whatever you say, sir.
There we go. You are not allowed to think for yourself. This is the facts. Move next.
We don't need no education.
Yeah, there we go. Something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
That was like 5 years later.
What do I know? Does it look like I know? So that actually that catchphrase that I have that nobody understands because it was something I experienced as a teenager was we had a neighbor. Did anyone have a neighbor who was the loudest person in the world and just wanted to shout all the time? And we had this really loud neighbor, Bobby, I won't say his last name, and and his mother was even louder. And I remember being outside my house one day, and they're right there because we had these were tiny pieces of suburban, land. So they're like right there, 30 meters away. And she's yelling, Bobby, have you seen the rake? And he yells back, oh, I'm going to wait for you to swallow just in case you laugh at this. And he yells back, no, does it look like I've seen the rake? And my thought was, what does it look like when someone has seen a rake?
Oh, I see. Okay.
How would
Yeah.
we know from looking at Bobby that he's seen the rake or not seen the rake? And so,
Because he would have gone, I found the rake.
so this is just my own little catchphrase that I've carried for, 40 years or whatever.
Oh, I
Does
see.
it look like I've whatever? Insert thing you cannot see.
Do we have any idea how many people are watching right now?
Yeah, I can tell you that actually. Please hold. Let's see. So over on YouTube, we've got 6 people, so that's a little lower than usual, but still
Hello,
grateful.
YouTube.
Yeah,
Hello,
still
YouTube
grateful
land.
for them peeps. And let's check the LinkedIn. Oh, here we go. LinkedIn. I have to like go to my own stream and see the number.
Okay, what do you know about AI poisoning and all of the
LinkedIn
naughty
says
dark?
15. So
Ooh,
we've got
okay.
20 something people. Hey Marja. Oh, hold on. You told me this last time. I'm giving you Mario Lane. No, was that it?
No,
Oh,
you got it.
okay.
Mario Lane.
Mario Lane.
Mario Lane.
Um,
At least that was my
I'm
understanding with
bad
the
at the
Dutch people that
Dutchy
I've worked with.
things. Okay, let's see. LinkedIn user whose name I didn't get, but I can try to take a look at. Is it? Oh, it's Larry. God damn it. It's Larry. Oh, and I better hold on. I better switch over to this view. And let's see. Let's put up Larry's question on the questioning. So, Larry says, I see a lot of discussions about AI used as a tool to help UX practices, but I haven't seen much on how to incorporate AI into products. I covered this in my book, but I would like your learned perspective. Nick, AI incorporated into products.
Doing it right now, baby. Right now, learning it, working it out as I go. I mean, literally that. But for me, Larry, I'm sticking to first principles. Do you know what I'm saying? Stay user centric. That's exactly where I've always been. That's what's always driven my success. There's no reason why with the tech change this changes at all. That's kind of why I'm talking about active and latent needs these days, because we're talking in space where people aren't even aware of what they're going to need, but they're going to need it, so we have to build it today. Um, so yeah, that's where the product thought leadership is in my head right now, because that's what I'm doing. That's actively doing, building AI products around user needs, but user needs, active user needs and latent user needs, and messing around with latent user needs. You, me, and Debbie. That's a tricky, messy thing to juggle. In anyone else's hands, I fear, tread carefully, tread wisely, because you can easily end up in fairy tale land. Easily. So easily. It's really a slippery, dangerous place. I'm not comfortable doing this, but it's where we are. It's the way of the world. You've got to do it as safely as you can under the current conditions. And that's what I'm doing.
Ethically.
Well, and yeah, and confidentially, and there's just a ton of red flags
First, do
to
no
be careful
harm.
of. Yeah, do no harm and predict the future whilst understanding needs. It's
Yeah.
simple.
Right, exactly.
You know what I mean?
5 easy steps to know everything about everything.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, another thing I'll add is I saw some projects today that my coworkers are doing at my day job, and they're incorporating AI, and it was really interesting to see the design work they were doing around that, and it was really well done. I really work with some amazing people. I'm endlessly lucky. The designers had done some really interesting stuff. And I think the project that I'm on will have AI, but that's not going to be handled much by me or by the designer. It's probably going to be more in how the behind the scenes data is utilized uh, I don't want to say manipulated because that sounds evil. I mean, I work at a university. This isn't evil. It's just going to be information about courses. But it's interesting to see what this product will probably do. Melanie says, when you say AI, do you mean incorporating an LLM? Yes, I think so. I think that some of the stuff I saw today demoed at my job would probably be from the LLM universe, and probably what's going to be on my project we think of more as algorithms than AI. But I know sometimes when we talk to students, they imagine that it's AI because that's the word that's floating around right now, but it might just be a set of really well tuned algorithms, if that makes sense. How did I
I'm
do?
talking, yeah, basically an LLM incorporated in some form or another. Not talking about anything to do with my company because I'm not at the moment right now, but talking more about, okay, so I got an email today that Autodesk, the makers of 3D modeling software, they're one of their products, Fusion 360, has now got AI capability. Now, I can use Fusion 360 at a not total newbie, but pretty basic rudimentary kind of level, right? I'm not an engineer or a production person or any of the stuff. It's a phenomenally powerful tool that I'd use 0.01% of or something like that, right? So for me, if it can start helping me not have to understand engineering production methods and all the other bits and pieces that not bits and pieces, I mean fantastic practices that require immense amount of knowledge and experience. If I can go from idea to 3D model quicker using generative AI, that's great. Question is, what does that do for the not engineers? That's not the question. The other people who have accumulated this knowledge over 30 years or 50 years or what have you. It's all very, very interesting, scary and crazy.
Yeah, I think we did an episode on this. I think it was like episode 206 or something. If you just go to YouTube and you write CX-CC, because that's our new channel name, and AI, it should come up because we had two AI experts from, I think, Ohio joining us and explaining why does AI hallucinate? Could AI be used in UX now and be used well, or is this something that's going to be more for the future? So yeah, you can always look up. Anybody who's curious can always go look up that show and learn more about AI from Robert and Jordan, who were our guests. I think Jordan's been working in AI for 16 years, so Jordan knows their stuff.
Larry, I've been working with active and latent needs since my I guess master's work. Right, I did a master's thing on the safety of medicinal devices. Um, Active and latent, I think, in this world of AI for the a number of years to come is going to be a big deal. If you want me to write a chapter or quote me on that, that'd be cool. I'd love that. We'll talk offline.
Yep, and we've got a follow-up question from the Larry, and he says, I like to think of AI as an agent or an assistant to the user. Humans are better than AI at some things, but AI is better at others. Finding how to leverage the strengths of each to create a complementary system is hard. Do you have any tricks you use to help achieve that?
Right. So the big example that I give, you may have heard me use this because I think it's such a great analogy, is transcription. Right. Before the world of transcription, before automatic transcription, and now AI based transcription, it was a major pain in our lives. And I can't understate that enough. It was soul destroyingly horrible for weeks. I mean, I've got the chills thinking about some of my transcription sessions. It's savage. It's really, really horrible. It's when I say menial work, it's work that a human being shouldn't really be doing. But we did and we had to. But that's like me talking about my grandparents having to walk like 80 miles to school in snow uphill with a meteor shower. Do you know what I'm saying? All of that stuff. It's just that's the way the world has moved on. Technology makes life easier, makes work easier. And this is, I guess, part of that really big picture progression in a big jump, ridiculously big jump that we're all just not even understanding at the moment. Um, Sorry, I need to stay back on track. How do you leverage the complementary strengths of it? Humans are better at AI things, but yeah. So I want to believe in time, Larry, that this is as much about a people and systems priority, if you know what I mean. Like, when is the tool leading the human? When's the human leading the tool? Um, that requires a level of management. I think there are a level of industries like legal where 100% you have to have a human being at the top of that, or at the top of certain AI decision trees in the decision tree of decision trees, you know, in that gigantic taxonomy of decisions that happen in a business. You're going to have human checkpoints everywhere, right? You just have to because it's law. Again, similarly, probably medicine or healthcare, maybe even fintech. Probably, you know, many elements of user research when applied to these industries and regulated industries, because all bets are off when it comes to hallucinating in a regulated industry, right? Or, you know, I don't want anything hallucinating on my healthcare record or near my record or my care, or you know what I mean. You just don't even want to think about that stuff. So I think we're going to have to learn where the tool fits best. And a lot of the research that I've been doing is in along those lines. You know, fitting the tool, because we have got AI. How are people fitting it to their lives? It's a form of ergonomics, but it's AI ergonomics, should we say? Where does AI fit into my business efficiencies, business processes, all of this stuff? And it's also, you know, I had a participant this evening. I asked him to write a prompt, and she got a rap. She wrote a rap about, it was amazing, the French Rebellion, a rap. I can't remember the prompt, but it was brilliant, and it turned out, for some of the creative stuff, it's mind blowing. It's incredible. The generative stuff. Funnily enough, generative AI is amazing at generating. Is amazing at generative. It's just that all the stuff that we want it to be good at, like analytical, it's shit. It's terrible. So AI
Yeah,
isn't
I
going to be just
asked Claude
AI.
because of the back. Oh, and then we'll get to Hugo's question. But because of the back and forth ad on Slack yesterday, I asked because I had said, I haven't yet seen an AI that I would want to do any of my job, and someone responded like, "Oh, well, you obviously haven't played with any of the better models." So just for fun, I went to
Maybe.
Claude and I
Oh God.
said, "Hey, Claude, here's what just happened. I had this conversation, and someone said I'm not using the better models. Can you please tell me what some of these better models are?" And Claude wrote back and said, like, thing one, my training goes up to 2023, so I might not be aware of the better models. And thing two, it was about, can AI do UX research planning, as I mentioned earlier. Basically, Claude said humans should do UX research planning. And while there's a couple of things AI could help with, it was the kind of thing that a human would still need to do and oversee, that it needed the human touch.
You know what though? Here's the thing. I've asked it to do this repeatedly on many occasions. Um, it will turn out a perfectly okay, bland, generic, like boilerplate, templatey kind of a thing that's just meh. That might get a newbie or a PM off a bad PM off the floor and out the gates kind of thing. But as we all know, research plans aren't like this static thing that you just go bang and well, actually, often they do, and it goes into Confluence and then dies. That's not the point. In reality, the actual plan changes. You pivot. You learn stuff from the sample. You upgrade hypotheses. You change hypotheses. You move in different directions. Stuff happens, right? AI is not going to roll with those punches. And that's where the power and strength of a human intelligence user researcher comes to the fore.
Y-
Because over time, we
Yeah,
win absolutely every time.
yeah. Hey, we have a question from Hugo Hernandez who said, "Back in college, I picked a cognition course over behavior for my psych minor. Now that I'm into UX, I regret this decision. How do you recommend I go about learning more about behavior?"
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah. Oh, I mean, now I want the tears, please.
Oh,
No,
hold
I
on.
feel for you,
I'm
buddy.
on
I feel
the.
for you. I really do.
There we go.
Whoever wrote that one, I'm with you on that. Um, that's cruel and unkind to make you have to choose between the two. That sucks. As a psych minor, as an undergrad, you need both. You can't have one without the other. That's grumble, grumble. That's not nice. Um, but okay, behavior. Just to pick up, Skinner basic behaviorism and kick off from there. Um, it's not really that much more radical than that. Cognition gets super crazy. Um, and it's super interesting, but black box after black box does get meaningless and really kind of intellectual after a while, whereas behavior is, in my mind, is so much more honest. I'm a behaviorist by practice and belief. Because I'm an evaluative kind of guy, I will always go with a behavioral method over a self-reported survey, blah, 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 blah. You guys have probably heard me bang that drum many, many times. The truth is, man, or woman or person, human, uh, how do you recommend I go about learning behavior? The truth is, I've learned behavior not from PhDs or masters or academic stuff, right? You learn the frameworks there, and they're really interesting and they're really useful, but they provide the context and the kind of background. Learning behavior is you learn it by watching and thinking, and you learn firsthand. It's an experiential thing. And again, the machines can't do that. Well, they can actually, but not as well as us. And well, they'll catch up in time. But for now, we're out in front by an unstoppable lead for the sorts of tasks that we do. In other tasks, I guess they kill us. But we're just staying in the UX domain and user research domain. Do more behavioral research, but that's so easy for me to say. In practice, what that actually means is you watching people doing a thing, evaluating a product or using a product or a service
Going
or
through their task.
a task, journey, page, element, even even copy, like IA, everything, the whole shebang. Um, that's how you learn behavior, and any X factor or additional stuff that I personally have is because I've spent a lot of time in front of users. I've done 2 sessions today. I did one an hour before I came on this evening, and it's 10:42 p.m. my time. I've got another 2 tomorrow. User research, speaking to users, being in the lab, being out on the road in the field has been a feature of my professional life for 15 years. And that's a lot of behavior. So get out there. You know what I mean? And if you can't get out there, if we're all stuck in these bloody boxes doing post-pandemic research, then do evaluative work, not generative.
And Ana
You'll get a
Lucia
lot more
says,
behavior out
I'm
of it.
laughing just thinking about the hallucinations AI would have with Freudian theories. Sounds like Ana Lucia still has her mind in the gutter, as we say.
Get it to draw some pictures, Anna Lucia. It, it gets pretty racy, and I'm not going any further than that. And this is with all the training and all the limits put on. Yeah. Yikes.
Pass.
Just
You
remember, it
think
can't do
you...
like hands well, right? It can't do
Right.
text.
Oh, no, they
So
can't
it's
do.
going to get like 7 Shades of Seven Dali gone wrong.
Oh
Not
my
good.
gosh, that's so funny. I never thought of any of this. I never thought about asking AI to draw nude bodies or whatever, and then the carnage that would ensue
Oh,
because it can't
um,
even draw a tooth.
I have to confess that as part of my research and for science, um, I did do that sort of a Google to see if that kind of an industry maybe was doing things with AI. I feel it was a responsible thing to do because, frankly, that industry has driven so much tech over 20 or 30 years, and that's
Right.
fact. We can talk about web, sign up, onboarding, security, all of that,
E-commerce.
advertising, marketing, anyway, scale. Um, there's a lot of things that industry has contributed to the wider world, but we just don't talk about because it's that industry. So I had a look to see what they're doing, and but of course there are. If you can imagine the avatar generators that you've got for normal stuff, it's just that, but the more advanced version. That's it, and it's not good. It's like Uncanny Valley. Yikes! Like, okay, we're wrapping up there. Thank you very much, and I've been Dr. Nick. Cheers. Good night.
Tip your
follow
waiter.
more. Follow me for
Yeah.
more shock and horror.
Oh my God. Follow me for things that you can't unsee.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly that.
just a reminder
Right.
tomorrow that we are doing a live webinar here on the Happy Friendly YouTube channel and the LinkedIn Live and the Twitch tomorrow, same bat time, 11 p.m. Italy time. And tomorrow I'll be talking about Section 174, which is a UX tax code change that is probably one of the main root causes of the layoffs of the last 2 years. And we're going to be talking about this tax code change. I'm not a tax code expert, but I've done some digging and I've learned some things, and I want people to know about it. And of course, if you're in America, now is the time to be calling your senators because there is a proposed law in U.S. Congress to undo this tax change, which hopefully would open up hiring and other things again and maybe start to undo some of those layoffs. So
Was that
that's tomorrow's
anything
webinar.
similar to the? Was that anything similar to the IR35 thing that we had about masquerading as a permanent?
No, we have those laws in America also. Like I have in my contract, I have to have this long clause for the state of Arizona that says you are not a permanent if you fit five of the following 14
Yeah.
things or whatever. We've got that in our own way, but not as bad as UK was. In short, the Section 174 was a tax change voted in 2017 by Trump, but it was set to be enacted in 2022 when he might not have been in office. So when it went into effect, it would have looked like it was someone else's fault. And essentially, it changes, and we'll talk about this in depth tomorrow, but it changes how businesses can write off people like you and me. It changes how our salaries, our tools, our workspaces, our expenses, so both the human and not human non-human costs of all areas of research, development, software, technology, innovation, experimentation, R&D. It changed how that could be written off so that you could write off a lot less of it. And this meant, for example, if Dr. Nick gets £100,000 per year, all of a sudden his instead of his company being able to write off 100,000 because it's money they spent in the name of doing business and so on, they can write off 10,000. And all of a sudden they're going to have to pay taxes on $90,000 of kind of ghost profit because you didn't really end up with profit. It's just that instead of you spent that money, you don't have it. It's not really profit, and so that's kind of the short version of what happened with Section 174, and it's why a lot of the layoffs started right around the beginning of 2022 because that's when it went into effect, and it really picked up steam in the summer of 2022, or at least summer to the northern hemisphere, when a lot of companies started realizing, oh crap, at the end of the year, we're going to have to pay way more taxes than we're used to paying because we're not going to have the write offs and
Mhm.
expenses that we've normally had. So we better get rid of some people because then the money that we were paying them will be in the bank to pay these damn taxes.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Yeah. It's like, yeah, you do want a nicer environment, or well, no, it's forcing people to make all kinds of decisions over priorities with less money, which is, yeah, not good. Anyway,
Yeah.
it is what it is. Shit happens. Hopefully this thing goes through. When are they voting on it?
I don't know. And sorry, just making a note of what we talked about. I don't know, and I am following the proposed law. You can actually go to the U.S. Congress website, find a proposed law, and like join its mailing list, and you can get
All
little
right. Yeah.
updates of
Yeah.
like, oh, the Senate put this on the calendar. Oh, the Senate is thinking about talking about this. It's definitely a bit slow motion, but taxes in America are due next week. And so chances are this is not going to go through before tax day, which is Monday the 15th. And that means that a lot of, yeah, Linda says thumbs down. That means a lot of companies are going to be stuck struggling to pay taxes. There have been a lot of stories in the media, especially about smaller startups, medical startups. All of a sudden, they couldn't expense their equipment, they couldn't expense their
Yeah.
research, they couldn't expense all of this stuff. And
Maybe the
some
fast
of them have
track it.
had to go out of business. And of course, one of the points I'll be making tomorrow in my article is, this was voted in by Trump. Why would Trump want to weaken American innovation?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
We could follow that and we could come up with some hypotheses, and they're not going to be pretty, but it's a reminder that when you vote for someone because you hope they'll make gay people's lives miserable, or you hope that they'll make abortion illegal, or you hope they're going to do whatever thing, they come as a package deal. And these people are going to do other things as well. And in this case, they voted in these tax changes that they claimed would inspire companies to hire more Americans, but it actually caused over 300,000 layoffs. Ana Lucia wonders if that means there will be a one more year of layoffs. I believe this is, I'm not an expert in the economy or any of this stuff, but my prediction for this year is kind of a flatness to hiring. I think we are going to see some of the jobs coming back, but at noticeably lower salaries because they can't write off the money, so they don't want to spend as much, so they want to get significantly cheaper people, even if that means hiring less experienced people. And yeah, Hugo says, what do they say about karma? Yeah, not good. But I don't understand people voting against their self-interests anyway, so that's a separate conversation, and I'm also no expert on politics. But I do think that this year we're not going to see a strong rebound in the job market. We've seen UX hiring pick up a little, but it has tended to be very mid-level, like a lot of job descriptions looking for 2, 3, 4 years of experience so that they can get someone with some experience, but who isn't going to cost the company as much.
Okay, Debbie, let me ask you a question.
Please do.
Completely open and not loaded. I mean that.
Okay.
How do you feel about the role or title product designer, product researcher?
How do I feel about let's put this up on the screen since it's something we're going to talk about. Let's see. Uh, how do we feel about the role or title of product designer or product researcher? Sorry, just
You know
typing
what I mean?
that.
Just i.e., specifying those roles to product.
How do you mean specifying those roles to product? What does that
Well,
mean?
again, like people talk about researcher, like people don't know the difference between user researcher, what they call UX research, and market research. At the moment, it's becoming a bit like researchy. Um, like a product researcher, it specifies what they're doing, why they're doing it, the methods that they use to do that. And they may or may not be very different to a different kind of a researcher, which is why we have specializations, I guess. I know I'm speaking bloody like obviously, but you know what I'm saying. It's it's the evolution of this stuff. We had it going, it devolved. This is the re-evolution of it, I think. I don't know. I'm just asking. That's why.
Yeah, my opinion on this, it covers a couple of different things. One of my opinions is that I think product managers put the word product in front of stuff so they could control it. Because we
Mhm.
were totally fine being UX researchers, UX architects, UX designers. Um, I jokingly say that it's not product designer, it's products designer, product apostrophe S. Like they want to control you, they treat you as an
Yeah.
assistant. It's it's product. Oh, you've disappeared. We'll miss you,
No, have
Nick.
I?
Oh, yeah, you
Oh shit!
disappeared.
Can you hit? Okay, I've hit the cable. I'm an idiot. That's
You
me.
hit the cable.
Um,
Okay, we hear
because of
you
the way
though.
that this go, I'll keep going. I'll just cut until I get this sorted. I'll just be on audio only.
Okay. Um, so on the one hand, I don't like that something we did turned into some job titles that sounds like we're the assistant in someone else's department because we had our own department. We are CX and UX, and especially when people claim, "Oh, we want to have a trio, product, UX, and engineering." We've kind of undone the UX title by calling all these things product. And we saw that many years ago when agile became popular. All of a sudden everything got the word agile or scrum in front of it. We weren't just the team, we were the agile team or we were the scrum team. And all of a sudden they're putting all these words in front of it. Now product has a lot of power. Everybody else is disempowered and they're peeing on everything and putting their name on it. So on the one hand, I don't like that these names keep changing based on who's in power and who's trying to control us. On the other hand, I do believe that our work is not going away. Someone is going to do UX work. Someone is going to do research. Someone is going to do observations or interviews. Someone is going to design stuff. Now, the question is this going to be a skilled person, a talented person, an educated person, a person who comes from any sort of psych or HCI or HCD background, or is it going to be someone who thinks wireframes are a fun way to make the team build my idea? So on the other hand, I'm less concerned about the titles because I know no matter what they call us, our work still exists and our work isn't going away. And even someday when AI does our work, it's still going to be UX work because it's still going this the work has to be done. Someone's got to do it. And as Larry always points out, even if nobody does a UX task, we still have UX, we still have user experiences, we still have interfaces, we still have interactions. So even if quote unquote nobody works on the UX, you've still done UX by not doing it. So on the one hand, I don't want to get too bogged down by job title of the month. I also think that the more that PMs, product managers, push to make UX skills part of their job, the more we're just going to take their jobs. And so I think there's a possibility in the future that what we now think of as a product manager is a really strategic UX person
Oh,
who
hey,
gets to.
you're preaching to the choir on that one.
Yeah, so that's why the more product managers say, oh, research is required for a product manager, they do it, they own it, they control it. Researchers, they're just our coaches, they're our assistants. Design, product managers should do the design. They do the first pass, they come up with the idea, they come up with the thing. Designers, they'll clean it up. And my thought
Okay.
is that's going to fall apart because someone's going to say, we don't need all these people in this assembly line. And then UXers are going to say, well, we can do that better than anybody else. And the product managers are going to go, oops, we just gave up our own jobs.
Yeah, possible. Okay, but let me just take all of that's great.
Why, thank you.
Let's just rewind back to earlier in our conversation this evening where you like, I'm working with Danny, fantastic, good product manager, really gets it. Brilliant, right? Now, in this world of good product manager, I'm going to say as default, as standard, right? Or in the majority, right? If we're in a world of great product managers like Danny who get it, does that change what you've just said? If it isn't about control, if it's about collaboration with people who are all on the same side?
So my answer, it's a great question, and thank you for asking it. My answer to that is most of the people who I tell when I tell stories about Danny, they go, "Well, that's not really a PM. She's a PO." She's a technical product owner or an agile product owner. I don't think we're doing Scrum at my company, but a lot of people try to tell me, no, that's not really what a product manager is. A product manager doesn't want to babysit engineers all day. A product manager wants to be involved in strategy and design and coming up with the solution and working with executives. So I'm finding that of course we have the whole PMPO problem, but I'm finding that when people hear about Danny, because her title is technical product manager, a lot of product managers who don't have that technical background or do that kind of technical job act like that shouldn't be called a product manager, that should be called a product owner. So,
Right.
there are these naming and role problems everywhere. We're not alone, certainly not anymore. I used to think we were alone and now I see we're not alone. And there's other teams fighting over turf and roles and
Oh
things
yeah.
like that. And some people say no, the product owner is a technical product person who I have a slide that I put up that I got from either scrum.org or somebody where they said, here's the difference between a PM and a PO. And basically, they made it seem like the PO was some sort of um, pseudo leader of an engineering team, helping them prioritize and grooming the backlog and doing the, unblocking the engineering team, and that the PM was really involved in understanding user needs and working with the designers and making sure the executives' asses are kissed, and so somebody drew those lines. So I find that when I say I have a great PM, people go, no, that's not a PM, that's a technical product owner.
Mm. It's really interesting, and that it's a bit like changing role creates the distance for bad behavior or to rationalize or excuse the team of one thinking, even though you're not in team of one kind of stuff. That CEO of product, as one of my colleagues so brilliantly kind of characterizes it. Um, yeah. Also, maybe I'm wrong, or maybe I need product folk in en masse to tell me, but isn't being a product manager about more like facilitation, uh, not like
Facilitation of what?
the vision and the direction and everything? Like it's all on me. I'm an entrepreneur. this is my company, i.e., product. You know what I'm saying? It's like I'm the CEO of
They
my
used
product
to
team.
say that. They used to say that, and they're not saying it as much anymore. But the problem is that what I've been seeing in the last couple of years, and we even talked about it in my book, was that um, a lot of companies aren't too sure what the product manager really does because hypothetically, the engineering team should be able to manage itself. They should be able, if they're a self-managing team, they should be able to groom their own backlog and get an
Yeah,
understanding of the project
yeah,
and different priorities and
yeah,
do their own goddamn work. And UX, pretty much zero of us wanted product managers to micromanage us or tell us
yeah.
what to do or how to do it. And many of us, especially us old schoolers, are strategic. So I don't know what I even need a product manager to do nowadays, other than someone like Danny who's going to shepherd some engineering stuff that I don't want to deal with. But hypothetically, an engineering lead or scrum master or agile coach could also be doing that. So the problem is product managers are having a giant identity crisis. You've got Airbnb or whatever company it was sacking their product managers. You have Marty Kagan coming out and saying feature factories don't even need product managers, and most companies are feature factories.
Mm-hmm.
And so, product managers, not all of them, but some of them are going, shit, we need to be able to prove our value. It's literally a conversation I was just having on LinkedIn before the show. A product manager on LinkedIn with 200,000 followers said that one of the three main reasons PMs should do wireframes is to make sure they're showing their value. And my thought was a PM should be able to show their value without going into other jobs territory. Should be able to show your value without trying to do marketing or trying to write code or trying to do my job. If you don't have value without trying to take mine away, something's not right here.
I can give you examples. I don't know if I should, but around my world of personal and professional lives, there are repeat examples of people with big social media followings putting things out there that are unknowingly misinformation with good intent, talking shit, frankly, right? And I can go across different. It's not just in my UXy world of digital or anything like that. I mean, there's slingshot stuff and other stuff I can tell you about. There's a guy with 1.5 million subscribers, and he won some kind of discovery thing, giving advice about shooting a slingshot. And then a guy, a Northern Irishman, who has won every tournament in this side of the planet, who's an amazing competition shooter, saying the advice that guy is giving around a couple of things is just flat out wrong and probably dangerous and inappropriate. And one has got 1.5 million followers and the other's got not a lot. What are people thinking in the world is the standard is knowledge is good. It's and look at how it's terrible. I don't know what's going to happen. I think the only thing we have is what you've been going on about for a longest of time is critical thinking.
Yeah,
Um,
critical thinking for the win. I think everybody needs to engage in it, no matter who is saying what. It could be something I say, or you say, or Larry says,
yes,
or whoever.
yes,
It's
yes,
not special. It's not limited. It should be for everybody.
yeah,
And
and it
and
shouldn't
I
be
find
considered rude to challenge someone.
exactly. I run into some problems when I bring up some Teresa Torres stuff and her super fans just lose it, or when I talk about some spool stuff and the fans just lose it. And like one of the things that I talk about with Teresa Torres, which is a real elephant in the room that nobody wants to talk about, is so much of the things that we talk about from Teresa Torres have to do with who should do research. She wants
Mhm.
product managers to do most, if not all of it. How should research be done? Well, if product managers are doing most or all of the research, they're going to decide how it's done. They're going to plan it, they're going to recruit it, they're going to ask the questions, they're going to analyze it. And my question was I took a look at Teresa Torres's LinkedIn and I didn't see a research job. I didn't see when this person has held a research job. I didn't see when this person was a career researcher. I don't understand why we're taking this person's advice on who should do research or how research should be done or the best ways to do research when they've never had a job doing research or and certainly haven't been a career researcher where they were able to try different things at different companies and say, "Hey, as the researcher, here's what worked and here's what didn't." Nick, I
Yeah.
see you thinking.
Yeah. I was going to kind of be a little bit rude, I suppose, because the way she slings around experimentation, like product managers are the only people who are allowed to experiment, if you know what I mean. And
Evidently.
yeah, I know, I understand that. But the lack of appreciation that UX folk have been experimenting by default as the scientists or experimenters of the digital teams in general for decades, at least a decade, right? Since UX was born, like early or late noughties kind of thing. Um, that's been the way. So I don't know. Uh,
A lot
product,
of it
my
is
product.
problematic.
No. But the point being, I'm trying to make badly, is that product completely ignored the world, the existing world, and I don't know how you can do that with such a major role in things driving the product ship, I suppose. How you can come in, disrupt things in such a big way on the basis of people's opinion that isn't rooted in experience, i.e., this is what I know works across a load of different brands and contexts. Not, here's what I think you should be doing, guys. To break up all that amazing machinery that worked so well and to just go from what was a well-oiled balance of top down and bottom up to top down done shit. um, it's
Because it
mental.
put them in power. It's to
Yeah, no,
me
I
it's
get it.
ultimately
I
the
get it.
power struggle and power game.
I get it. But if the world was great right now and people weren't losing their jobs and we were all had job security and opportunities were brilliant, then no one, then okay, fair play. But things suck right now. And having people who are making really bad decisions because there's no standard to this immature practice called product. It's practiced randomly, and people are wondering why, in a time when we need to be showing profits and value, that we look like costs and complexity.
Yeah, and I'm going to be releasing an article soon where I said, look, I've been trying to figure out what's the end game here. Where is all of this going? And I don't think I have very good news because where I think this is going, this is my thinking, and please feel free to tell me I'm wrong. I wish I were wrong. Um, let's say, people, I'm hearing more and more about democratization and everybody's a designer and anybody can code and, oh, we just need more tools to automate things and more AI. Okay, so basically you end up with companies and teams where there's no standards for quality. We don't really care that much about quality. We don't care as much about outcomes. We're not holding people accountable when stuff is bad or failing. We go, cool, failures. Yeah, try again, try another experiment. If we get into deep into cycles of mediocrity and accepting failure and mediocrity or celebrating failure and mediocrity, then the slippery slope would be AI can also produce mediocrity. Why do we have all these people here? And so to me, the slippery slope of the over democratization is not to essentially get rid of UXers. We're the first to get hit by the gunfire, but it's more that it's going to make everybody lose their jobs. PMs are going to lose their jobs too, especially now when people
Yeah,
aren't even sure what they do. So they're trying to
yeah,
show value by doing our job. Our jobs have much more tangible value right now, unfortunately, than PMs seem to be able to show. But I think the real end game is if we're okay with mediocrity and we don't have accountability, and we don't have standards, and the only outcomes we care about are business outcomes, and the customer is only in the conversation for how we can push them around and nudge them, then what's the difference between a PM doing a shitty job at research and AI doing a shitty job at research? Nick.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. Um, I liken it to the good, fast, easy triad, like pick two. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Uh, we've all grown up, all of us, irrespective of your age, until the age of AI. We've grown up in an age of good. Generally speaking, good has been the North Star. We haven't always got there, but if you haven't got there, it's still been there, even though you haven't been aiming for it, if you know what I mean. I fear that moving forwards, good becomes good enough, which is a massive distance from good. And or good enough isn't good enough, it's just fast and cheap, or cheap and easy, or whatever these things are, but it's not good. That's what I fear moving forward, and that thinking of making money in the cheapest way possible, irrespective of what the user experience is, kind of thing, is going to possibly become the North Star. When that does, we will be going back to like 1960 in UX terms,
Yeah,
right?
I mean,
Things will
it's going to
be so
be
bad.
an executive or leader has an idea, code it.
Yes, and it'll be executed in a UI that just doesn't make sense. We're seeing it today. I was ranting on LinkedIn because I literally had to take a time out for an hour today because I got so angry with Google Drive, with one of the Google apps. So angry with it. The UX is effing shocking, and there's some absolute crimes in between the apps. It's obvious they're different teams who have never spoken to each other. It really, really grinds my gears that an entity like Big G can't get its shit together like that. But anyway, sorry, I'll stop. um, wow, is that Dr. Nick in a?
Yeah, we made an emoji out of you.
Great.
It was
Uh,
I think Kayleen helped us make that. It was the time you were on the show a few years ago, wearing a Santa hat and swinging your science bat.
yeah, that sounds good. The good old days. Thanks, Kayleen. Yeah, so I think that's what worries me. But you know what? I still think there's enough time because thankfully, if AI had been born with a brain, with an analytical brain, we would be having a fundamentally different conversation right now, a year later. Make no bones about it. It would be bloody terrifying. Thankfully, it's come out slightly weird and stuff isn't great, and it's a tale of two halves, right? It does some stuff amazing and some stuff shockingly, and often you can't tell what's good and what's bad. That's also a big factor here. So we've got time. We've got time. I love what you said, Debbie, about earlier on about coaching, about being these latent or silent coaches to product folk, because I think there's a lot of I've had a lot of sidebar discussions with people on LinkedIn. People ask me like that, ask me advice about, is this happening? And it's clearly happening. A lot of product folk want to know what we've got in our heads, right? They want to know because they need to know it because they're trying to do our jobs. So I don't know how I feel about that. On a good day, I want to just, teach them. On a bad day, I'm training them out of a job. I'm training myself out of a job and a career, and you didn't learn things the hard way like we did. Blah 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 blah.
Yeah, I can't bring myself to do it. I've known for years that there's money to be made in selling out what we do. And I remember, oh my gosh, 7 years ago, I had a tough decision to make. I got called in by a famous American insurance company to train a team on Acture. And I used to do a lot of Acture training. I loved doing it. I loved teaching Acture and blah, blah, blah. And I was just so happy to go. Let's just say I hadn't asked a lot of questions up front. And I flew to Connecticut and I went to the office and I got in there, and there were probably about 12 people in there. And I started asking my usual warm up questions like, hey, everybody, tell me what jobs you're in. And it was a room full of business analysts. And I was like, oh, all right.
This has got a lot harder. You should have paid double. You should have charged double.
It wasn't so much that it was harder, it just meant that there were some tough things that I had to remind these people, was that okay, tell me more about why you're using Axure. Well, sometimes there are changes we have to make to the
Yes.
designs or the
Yeah.
content or the files, and the UX people tell us they don't have time and it has to get done. So we want to know how to get into Axure and make these changes to the files. And my thought was like, so I was at, then I did teach them, and take it or leave it on that one. Let's just say I haven't done that again because I wasn't too sure how I felt about that. But I made sure to ask a lot of questions like, are you partnered with the UX people? Do they know you're going in and making these changes? Yes, they
Yeah.
know we're going in and making these
Uh,
changes. They don't have time to make them. They know the changes have been approved, and so our company budgeted for us to learn Axure.
that makes sense under those circumstances.
Under those
If it's
circumstances,
all,
it made sense, but I had a
yeah,
crisis for a moment there because I don't
yeah.
believe in selling out my own peeps.
No, no, I thought you were going to go down the road of it's like I could teach them mechanically how to use Azure, but like, what do you do with it once it's like I've taught you how to use this really cool like tool,
Right.
but like now what do I build with it, or like how do I build, or what you know what I mean? All
Right.
the
And
other
I
stuff.
tried to tell them, like, just because you know how to use Axure doesn't necessarily make you a great designer or great at these other things. And they were kind of like, oh, yeah, we know. We just have to get in and change the content. We just
Yeah,
have to get in and,
they're just doing a like what you and I would consider like a visual functional spec, and they're just updating that user story, with
yeah, they were
with
just
with
doing
the,
the
the thing.
production work because, like, as the
Yeah,
business
yeah,
analyst, they had
yeah,
a small change to the design that got improved, or some new content that had to be put on a page where there was real content in Axure, and someone had to go in and do it, and so they needed to learn Axure, and
yeah. And you're
I
thinking, why am I going to have my either high day rate contractor or my clueful permanent person doing what is actually really menial Azure update work, when actually if there's a business analyst that's kind of their job to document this stuff, great. Like frees up my time to do the actual UX work.
as
You
long as
know?
they don't think that it's their job. Like, I remember I spoke at one I used to speak at only engineering, agile, and tech conferences, and just before the pandemic. And I remember I was at a conference and I was in this little um, breakout circle, and I think this person thought they were going to impress me, and they said, "I'm the business analyst, and I do lots of wireframing." And I said, "Why?"
Oh, really?
I said, "Why?" And they were so horrified. They thought like I was going to be like, "That's great." And I said, "Why? Why are you doing the wireframing? Do you have designers?"
Yeah.
"Yeah, we have designers." "Why are you doing the wireframing?" And they're like, "Don't I have to include wireframes with my requirements?" And I said, "No."
Yeah.
And that was a real moment where that got awkward fast, and so obviously we've had these problems in many years with many different people who have thought that if they could wireframe something, they're as good as at stuff as we are. It was the BAs, it was agilists or engineers or scrum masters. Now it's the PMs. There's always someone who thinks that UX is just so easy, and oh my gosh, you're just drawing boxes on a page. I could do that. Oh, you're just solving problems. I could do that. And it's like, Toon says the cat can drive, but not very well. Anybody can use Figma. Anybody can put a screen together, but I spend every Saturday doing free portfolio reviews for UXers, not for PMs, for UXers. These are UX people who believe they should get a UX job. And I would say roughly 4% of people look like they are doing really good work. The others look like they still have a lot to learn. And my thought is, if that's a UXer who's been dedicated to trying to learn this stuff, what the heck is going on when you're not even a UXer and you're not
I,
dedicated to learning this stuff? You just
yeah.
thought
I,
you could open
I
Figma and make a thing.
I got some bad news, Debbie. It's going to break
Yes,
it to you
Nick.
slowly. You know this, and I know you're sitting down, and I'll wait till you've swallowed your water so you don't choke or spit it all over the screen. Um, yeah, UX has been dead for quite some time.
So I was just writing this on that same LinkedIn thing with that product manager guy, and here's what I said. UX isn't dead. And I don't think UX will be dead because there will always be UX tasks being done by somebody. I don't think we're ever going to stop doing
Oh,
some
sorry.
sort of research.
Yeah, no. Yeah, the activity and the reality of UX, like you said earlier,
Yeah.
people are going to have user experiences.
The
That's a reality.
activities and the tasks
Yeah.
still exist, whether they're done by people who are good at it or some random punter is another story. But to me,
Okay.
it's not so much that UX is dead. I think quality is dead.
Okay. I'm going to go one step further because what brought the clock, well, I'll go one step backwards. What brought the quality was the user centricity. That was the fundamental beauty, engine, and differentiator about UX or UX design specific, about any other design practice in the world. Of all the various forms of design, UX design was really kind of unique in that, or not unique, or quite unique. It was a characteristic or a hallmark of UX. Then everybody came in and took UX to be wireframing and missed that bit out. Every boot camp, every mentor, every coach, every bullshitter missed out
Boot
that bit.
camp.
And that's how you know they were bullshitting, because they've never said anything user centric or anything about user centricity in their lives. But once you take the UCD out of UX, you take its heart away, you take its power, its soul, the engine, you take it all away. Um, but that means, because we're not doing the good user centric work, we're not making the seniors, we're not employing the seniors, we're not transferring that knowledge downwards, we're not sharing the knowledge. And so the ways that UX is done today and what we call it is all so foreign, because it's all being done by Chinese whispers or third hand through all these ridiculous information filters which just magnify and distort misinformation. That's
Yeah,
the
and
problem.
I was just talking to somebody about this recently because once in a while I get people saying, like even the product manager on LinkedIn that I was going back and forth with just before this show, they were like, "Well, obviously the ideal situation would be to run a design sprint." And I said, "No, that is far from the ideal situation. That what do you know about human-centered design? The ideal situation is not to just run a design sprint. No, definitely no. So obviously this is stuff that's been co-opted for a very long time. And my thought is it gets better the moment someone cares about quality because to your point, which I totally agree with, the user centricity or customer centricity or experience centricity, whatever we want to call it, is that quality. And every company is claiming, they put it in the job description, you're going to delight users. And I'm like, show me a company that's delighting users. Show me a company that's invested in delighting users. Show me
Mm-hmm.
a company that has a process built around delighting users. Show me a company that's measuring how delighted users are and taking real action when users clearly aren't delighted. And I think there's a handful of them, but for the most part it's not a thing. And whether we say it's user centricity or whatever, to me it's just about we don't care about quality or we don't care about outcomes. We set outcomes over outputs and we don't care about either.
I'm guilty of this myself, but I'm going to give all the people who are still watching a real golden nugget of advice. If you want to get your user centric chops up, and to the person earlier who asked about behavior, all these journeys start or can start for you in today in a post pandemic world by going through your customer support function, if there is one at the place you're working. If you haven't made inroads, networked, whatever you call that, not hooked up, you know what I mean, reached out, or somehow, got connected to these people, you should be actively doing that. Put that on your to-do list for tomorrow morning, is find out who's the customer success manager, or who's in charge of the customer service agents, whatever you call that language, the team leader of but whatever. Everybody gives it a different kind of a name, but you understand there's kind of customer support, customer experience function. Often very different as well, depending upon the size of your entity. But you understand what I mean by this, right? You
Yeah,
can
can you still hear
understand.
me?
Yes, I can
Sorry,
hear
you
you.
got very quiet, and I think it's just for me. Everybody still hears Dr. Nick well?
1, 2, 3, 4.
We do
Or
have humans
sing.
watching us. That I can
Really? I
tell
thought they were
you.
all bots. No,
But
I'm
I
gonna look
should
you up.
wrap up soon because not only have we gone a half hour over with like no questions, but my some of you know my mother-in-law is living with us because she's not well, and my husband has been rolling out a cot and sleeping next to her. So about 10 meters behind me, I have two people snoring, and I'm here shouting about UX.
Wish them better.
So I should go.
Yeah, for sure.
Nick, closing thoughts.
No thoughts. It's been a long day. Come and kick me on LinkedIn. Let's have some fun. Can you hear me? 1, 2, 1,
Yeah,
2, 1,
yeah,
2, 1,
it's
2.
it's 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 definitely me. I think I'm starting to get a short in this headset. I'll buy a new one in a few weeks.
They're pretending to be asleep and dicking around with the USB lead as a way to get you to kind of go offline and let them sleep.
Don't talk quietly. Be loud and annoying so I can
Don't
hear
worry.
you.
I think everyone else can hear. So what I will say is thank you very much, everybody, for watching. If you've got questions or anything I can help you with, get me on LinkedIn. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next month or the next time we do this thing. Tonight was particularly fun, though. It was been great. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for turning it into point counterpoint. And we have Dr. Nick on usually the second Tuesday of every month. I believe the next second Tuesday I will be in Arizona, so I will be in a an Arizona hotel room visiting my current day job and the super nice people. Thank you, Linda. Always back at you with good wishes for the family. I'm going to
Oh, here's the
flame
thing.
us out of here and roll into bed.
Hang on.
So, thanks everybody. And if you have questions for next week's version, send them in deltacx.com/links. Thanks. Good night.